In a world where Canada teeters on the edge, one man, a globalist banker, stands ready to take the throne. Another, a political bulldog, rises from the ashes of his lost glasses, rallying an army of angry voters. And the people, trapped in a never-ending Twitter war over which one will destroy the country first. If Canada becomes the 51st state, what do we lose first? Free healthcare, gun control, or worst of all, the right to call it a touque instead of a beanie.
You thought NATO would swoop in to save us, or that King Charles would knight Trump in exchange for leaving Canada alone.
Or that, at the very least, some angry guy in a Hudson Bay sweater would invoke an ancient clause that lets us stay British.
But nope. Here we are, debating politics with our relatives on Facebook like it's a national sport.
One guy wants to turn Canada into a free market libertarian utopia.
The other might be one step away from sending us all LinkedIn invites to his global banking seminar.
Meanwhile, Canadians are panicking, wondering if they're about to wake up in a world where Tim Hortons serves Dunkin' Donuts coffee and every school starts the day with the Pledge of Allegiance, or, God help us, monster truck rallies outside Parliament instead of hockey fights.
And if you think Canadians will just sit back and let it happen, well, we're fighting back, one passive-aggressive tweet at a time.
On one side, we've got Pierre Poilievre, who critics say is Canada's Trump. He's ready to burn down the system, hand out Bitcoin, and replace the CBC with a Jordan Peterson podcast.
And he's got a fan base that treats him like the love child of Trump and Ben Shapiro, if that kid grew up ranting about gatekeepers and chugging Red Bull in the House of Commons.
Which honestly sounds exactly like something Don Jr. would try if his dad let him run a real country.
And the last one, that's a red flag. Because in Canada, some people don't actually like our politicians too polished.
Here, if you show up with an Oxford degree and a successful career in global finance, suddenly you're a globalist puppet with a secret agenda.
But if you drop out of school and spend your career yelling about freedom in the House of Commons, you're a man of the people.
Poilievre fans have literally said it's more important to have a strong leader than a smart one.
Which explains why so many of them think Trump is a genius.
Poilievre's big pitch is all about shrinking government, wiping out gatekeepers, and going after anything that stands in the way of freedom.
Which, depending on who you ask, it either means cutting red tape or just selling Canada to Elon Musk.
He's promised to fire the Bank of Canada governor, deregulate the housing market, and somehow make food cheaper just by yelling at grocery store CEOs. But you know who's making sure this election is an absolute circus? Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, because in his first presidency, Trump was all about tariffs and renegotiating NAFTA.
He scrapped it, slapped his name on a barely different version, called it USMCA, the greatest trade deal in history.
And now, he's tearing it down, slamming the exact same deal he signed, saying it's a bad deal for America.
Which raises the question, if the USMCA is a disaster, who signed it, Donald? He must have signed it with one of those auto pens that he claims are null and void when Biden signed pardons. Are you telling me he signed his name 1,600 times to pardon the January 6th criminals? I don't think so.
And now, instead of negotiating like a normal person, he's just bringing back the tariffs.
Steel, tariffed. Aluminum, tariffed. Dairy and softwood lumber, next on the chopping block. Trump's attacks on Canada aren't about economics anymore, they are pure political. The problem is, even though Trump has zero control over Canada, he's shaping this election.
Which means our election isn't just about Poilievre versus Carney anymore. It's about whether or not Canada is about to turn into the 51st state.
So let's clear this up right now. Canada is never going full MAGA.
We're not electing a Trump-style leader, we're not turning into a Republican state, and no, we are not putting "In God We Trust" on our currency.
Even Poilievre knows that if he goes full MAGA, he is unelectable.
Poilievre isn't running as Trump North, but a chunk of his base, they want him to.
Meanwhile, Carney's side is in full-blown panic mode, convinced that Trumpism is about to take over Canada.
Poilievre's supporters think he's about to save Canada from collapse.
Carney's supporters think he's the only one keeping us from being taken over by Wall Street and turned into a financial experiment.
And Trump?
Well, he's just staring at a map, wondering, where is Regina anyway?
Look, nothing is going to change overnight.
Even if Poilievre wins, even if Carney wins, Canada will be just fine.
Unless, of course, he actually tries to buy us.
Yeah, in that case,
We riot! Canada is built differently than the USA, and we don't just mean our houses are better insulated.
we mean our entire political system is designed to block extremism.
Even if a prime minister tried to go full dictator mode, Canada has a built-in firewall.
First up, our political system does not work like the US at all.
In America, you elect a president, and they basically run the show for 4 years.
In Canada, we elect a party, and that party has to actually work with Parliament to get anything done.
And before you say, but Carney was unelected, he's taking over like a dictator. No, that's not how this works.
The Liberal Party elected Carney as their leader because Trudeau stepped down partway through the term of the Liberal Party. New leader, same value.
So if you're mad about it, take it up with every other parliamentary system on the planet.
And then there's the provinces.
In the US, yes, states have some power, but the president calls the big shots.
In Canada, the provinces have massive control over things like healthcare, education, and even taxes.
So no matter who's in charge in Ottawa, the provinces still get the final say on a lot of major policies.
Every big move still has to go through Parliament. Even if Poilievre or Carney wanted to change everything overnight, they'd have to deal with opposition parties, the Senate, and at least 5 court challenges.
Not to mention the provinces, who literally make half of the decisions. Good luck getting all the provinces to agree on anything.
Ontario will spend 5 years arguing about highways and public transit. Quebec and Alberta will threaten to leave, but never actually pack their bags.
And the Maritimes? They'll be watching the whole thing unfold, shaking their heads and saying, at least we know how to be civil about things, eh? And honestly, even if our system didn't block extremism, Canadians would.
We are not built for insurrections.
Okay, you're going to say, oh, but we had the trucker convoy. But let's be real. It was mostly funded by the US and right-wing groups.
And what did we do with our radical movement again?
Not exactly storming the Capitol.
Even at our most extreme, we're still throwing street parties and bringing along the kids.
And making sure to have plenty of Tim Hortons.
And at the end of the day, Canadians have way more important things to fight about.
Yeah, like, why does butter suddenly cost $8?
Or how many bags of milk are actually in a bag of milk?
Is it 3 in one bag? Or one big bag of 3? Or why does every Toronto condo look like it was designed by a guy who's never met a human?
We have real issues, okay? And none of them include turning into the US anytime soon.
The provinces will still be the provinces. The Senate will still be a glorified waiting room for heaven.
The House of Commons will still be a chaotic daycare for grown adults.
And no, we're not suddenly getting a Supreme Court that makes decisions based on whichever Fox News host yelled the loudest that day.
Even if you hate the results of the election, we are not turning into the US. Canada is still Canada. So yeah, Canada's not turning into America.
We're too polite, we have 2 languages, and we're never giving up French, and too attached to the fact that we have a bird on our money.
So breathe, go vote, and let's all go back to fighting over hockey teams.
All right, that's it, Dave. We've officially settled it.
Canada is not turning into America. No matter how much Trump rants, how many Twitter meltdowns happen, or how many times people say, but pee-pee is just like Trump.
We'll keep the loony, the toonie, bilingual cereal boxes, and apologizing to inanimate objects. And honestly, we like it that way.
Now subscribe before we send a moose to your house. And if you really want to support the channel, drop a like, leave a comment, and let us know.
Best answer gets a free bag of ketchup chips.